My boyfriend actively neglects responsibilities. I want to leave.
I think you should. It's your responsibility to leave.
Ooh, get out of there, girl. I first met my 36 female boyfriend, 37 male, 5 years ago when I moved to a new state. I was staying with my family and we went shopping. He came to assist and I was kind of attracted to him from the jump. I have a type, tattoos, smart butt attitude, but in the funny way. A month later, I ended up working at the same store, not because of him, but because it was close to my family's house and the only place actively hiring at the start of the vid. By the way, this comes from Cultural Poet 4363, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So I was not doing well before I moved. My grief over losing my mom had me in a chokehold. I was crashing on people's couches, drinking, doing substances, and just all around life. I talked to my family, jumped on a bus, and 3 days later, I moved to another state across the country to start over and try again. Wow. Fresh, clean
Fresh,
slate there.
clean start.
Hard reboot. Getting this job was the first big positive step forwards for me. So it took about 2 months of making excuses to stop and talk, some light social media stalking, and outright telling him I was interested before he finally realized I was flirting with him. I was laying it down. Some men do not understand when they are being flirted with.
It's usually 99% of men.
Yes.
We are so dumb.
It is
Unless
us.
you're kissing me on the mouth, I'm not sure.
Even then, we don't know if you're flirting with us and if you like us.
It's like, oh,
We do not
sorry
know.
you tripped. My bad. They're like, huh?
It's like, you can literally say, we like you. And we're like, okay. Don't believe that.
So we went on our first date and we had so much fun. We talked about our lives. I told him a bit about my past. I found out his wasn't too far off, maybe even a little darker than my past. He sold me the story of his past with substances, a cheating ex, and how he had moved home because even though the house was quote unquote in his name, she was pregnant and he didn't want to punt her out. He made it sound like he owned said house. I have heard that story changed multiple times throughout the years, and I'm still not sure if I've ever even gotten the truth about that. He implied that he also moved home to help his parents out with paying bills. I later found out that his parents are very comfortable in their finances and he didn't pay them anything. Needless to say, I drank the Kool-Aid. Anyways, I fell hard and fast. We talked about buying a house together, which thank God I came to my senses, and we opted to get an apartment instead. And about 10 months into our relationship, we moved into our apartment. So yeah, not even a year in and they're living together.
That's a little quick.
A little quick. There were some behaviors that I knew I would have to help him grow out of. His gaming habits, general messiness, guy stuff. For time-saving purposes, I will not list everything that I learned in that first year and the 3 years since I've lived with him, but one thing became glaringly obvious. I fell in love with a giant man-child and a mama's boy. I learned that he was not just messy, he was dirty. Trash left all over the coffee table, food bits on the floor from late-night gaming snacks, leaving food out overnight, clothes staying wherever they land. I had never seen it before because his mom always picked up after him when he was living with them. We had multiple fights about his obsession with gaming, his inability to manage his money. He had one bill in his name, even though I gave him money for it. It would still be like, wow. And his insane jealousy because of his cheating ex. Meanwhile, over time, I was working my way up in the company. I went from a measly part-time position to full-time to a coveted sales position and eventually management. Dude, OP is making it happen.
Huge.
That's good stuff. Now I work with a division of corporate, still low on the totem pole, but already have my manager putting in recommendations for promotions for me. And I had never done this well at a job in my entire life. Mind you, this is coming from OP's like starting from scratch, getting like a retail job. So OP's like really made something. I never worked at a company for this long. I quit substances, rarely drank except for a few nights out with friends, and I managed to make, and I was so proud of myself for becoming an actual adult. I even had good credit again. Go.
Bravo.
When I got the sales position, he was jealous because even though he has the skill set to be successful in a role like that, he had a crappy attitude, was often late, and used BS excuses about a very manageable health thing to leave early. He made me feel so small about my promotion that I didn't even get to celebrate it.
Oh,
Another humongous
red flag.
Celebrate your partner.
Man is nothing but red flag.
Instead, I cried that night because apparently only way that anyone succeeded was because they kissed butt and no one was actually promoted for their skills. It was just a popularity game. I worked my butt off for that position. I showed up early, offered to stay late, helped anywhere and everywhere in that store, and had to deal with angry Karens with a smile on my face. To his credit, he felt bad and learned from that experience and has been happy for me with every position I've moved up to since then. But yeah, dude, if he's belittling you and making you cry when you get a promotion,
Yeah, no. Yeah, no.
This is getting long, so let's fast forward. We're still renting, but we've moved into a house that was quite a bit more than our apartment, but we were doing well work-wise. He eventually left the company we worked for and ended up in a much better paying job. Also, our family had grown by 3 fur babies, and we needed more space. Now, I think about 6 months ago, he lost his job.
Gonna get jealous of OP probably for her job.
Oh, true. Good point. I told him to apply for unemployment, but his pride and ego, they got in the way. He always has an excuse that there's some sort of issue with his application, but I honestly don't think he even applied for it in the first 2 months. His parents were giving him money to go towards rent, but I was still picking up an extra $500 of household expenses every month. Now, at some point, he closed his bank account and never opened one again.
What? Okay.
I'm confused. All his money gets deposited into his dad's bank account, and then his mom would give him cash.
So not only is mommy folding your clothes, but she's also giving you an allowance?
And this man is like in his like mid-late 30s.
Unless this is for like crazy tax reasons, which I don't think it is. This is weird.
So strange. He barely put any effort into finding a job. Between his unemployment, being able to borrow off his parents, and me covering whatever was left, he was awfully comfortable just staying at home. I told him, I get it. I've been unemployed before, but if he's going to be home all day, he could pick up some house chores.
Maybe he fold his own clothes for once.
Whoa, a radical idea.
Crazy.
And did he?
No. No Diddy.
He is the king. Wow. He is the king of weaponized incompetence. He took one dedicated chore of doing the dishes, and he was still inconsistent on when that would actually get done. We started fighting more and more, and it became a weekly event.
Again, like something I think we've seen continually in the last few stories that we've read is you have bad times, and then you realize that there's problems. And then if you don't solve the problems, there will be good times that will make those problems less present, less in your face, but the problems will come up again. Like we've been seeing these problems again and again. And when the times are good, you just brush them under the rug, but the problems are still there. Like you're never going to have a good relationship if you keep ignoring these problems that are coming up.
They're stacking like his dirty dishes, girl.
Yeah.
And his dirty drawers.
Dirty drawers. Skid mark drawers.
Now, remember me mentioning the gaming. I'm not against gaming, but he took it to a whole new level. He had a game room off in the garage. Last winter, he would be out there with a little electric heater cranking up our electric bill. As the months started to get cold and our household stayed at a 1 to 1.5 income household, he was on unemployment but making less than half what he was making when he was working. I told him he could bring his game into the living room to keep the electric bill down. That same night, he started sleeping on the couch, not because we fought and I made him. He does it because he plays until 2 or 3 a.m., gets off the game, watches people play other games on YouTube, and falls asleep.
Get a job.
The routine of champions. God.
There's got to be better guys out there, right?
Bro has so far 0 redeeming qualities.
He's got to be hot, right? Because there's, yeah. Yeah.
I can't lift it. It's too much.
For our audio listeners, John is holding a hog right now.
It's an elephant right now.
Now that's pain is growth, okay? That's pain is growth.
Good callback, John.
That was maybe 3 or 4 months ago. Our relationship honestly feels like we are roommates at this point. He's working again, trying to take the job hunt seriously. I took away his game controllers and threatened to sell them.
Are you his mom?
You are his mom!
You're his mom!
You took away his game. No games until you apply to jobs.
And threatened to sell it to put towards bills.
Then you get this cookie if you're a good boy.
Oh, God. And you know what, too? This is actually a great example of like when you don't like address the real things. Now OP is like probably not her ideal self, you know, of like, oh, taking the controls and threatening to sell. Like you don't become your ideal person when
you're mommified.
Yeah, when you're mommified, but still making considerably less, meaning I am continuing to overextend ourselves to cover our monthly expenses. My credit has taken a hit because I'd missed payments due to having to cover so much of the expenses. After almost 5 years together, 4 years of me managing all the expenses, cooking, cleaning, laundry, and doing most of the work to care for all of our fur babies, I had a moment of clarity where I realized I'm done.
Yeah.
We did it.
You realize that you shouldn't be the mother of this man.
Did it.
I mean, she didn't do anything. She just realized it, but hopefully that comes with action.
Yes.
That's
you
the first step.
realized
That's the
it.
first step.
You
Realizing is
realized
the
it.
first step.
Yes. I never signed up to raise a man who still acts like a teenager. Something I did mention, but is worth noting, is when we would fight, 90% of the time, it would escalate because of him. I'm a talker. He starts yelling, throwing things, not me.
It sounds like a 3-year-old.
Dude,
this is crazy.
literally not me, but still red flag behavior. Then starts crying and using self-deprecation to the point that I somehow end up consoling him.
Yeah. They're almost 40, by the way.
Barf, dude. Oh,
Almost 40.
this is like freshman year high school couple
behavior.
like,
Yeah,
dating
dude.
behavior.
Oh my God.
Golly.
Yeah, 40 is crazy. That's
Insanity.
good context, Keon. Oh my God.
Then the next day, he just acts like none of it ever happened. So back to the moment of clarity where I may be an a-hole. I have started to look into apartments in the city. I have a serious lifelong medical condition, and because of it, I can't drive. Wow. Our town doesn't have public transportation, so if I leave, I literally have to move out of town. I've talked to 1 or 2 close friends about my plan to leave. We have 5 months left on the lease, and because of the financial hole he dug me in, I don't have the money I would need to break the lease and pay to move into a new place. Also, I need time to figure out how to untangle our lives. We are both in the car, we have a shared phone plan, etc., etc. Our lease is ending in August, and I plan to move right after our last month of rent is paid. The only reason I haven't told him yet is I don't trust him not to bail and leave me paying for this big house on my own. By the way, you've heard of big houses. Well, we've built the foundation of this show by releasing 2,000 episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and your favorite podcast app. So search OK Storytime and literally binge to your heart's content.
Binge away, my pretties.
I promise you it'll be a fun ride. But Sam, onto this actually kind of interesting scenario where our core tenet is communicate early and often. I mean, that's like what we always say. OP is in a bit of a pickle with this situation of like not wanting him to bail.
I mean, he's shown he's very unreliable, but I mean, I think he's too addicted to mommy to actually bail. I would still say communicate. Because also it's all conjecture that like you think he's gonna bail. I would say communicate, and if he's bails, then there's like I think you could ask his parents. I think you could figure things out. I would communicate early and often. I think it still goes the same here.
So I feel bad because I'm giving myself 4 to 5 months to plan, prepare, and save. I plan to tell him when we get our offer to renew, but one of my friends says to not tell him until July to ensure that I won't have to take all the expenses on my own for the next 4 months.
Nah, dude, I think you tell him early. I think you tell him.
Because and I know like we don't know exactly how effed OP's financial situation will be, but just to put the argument out there, sometimes like just having the weight of that off of your shoulders, could feel better potentially than the financial burden that. So there you go.
Yeah, our little 2 cents, but that's where that story ends.
Oh,
or we got a little bit more. We got a little bit more.
Am I the a-hole for not telling him I plan to leave and giving him the same amount of time to get his plan in order as I'm giving myself